I'm going to jump in right quick. Welcome, everybody, to the Cowboy Perspective. It's really cool. We got Reed. My co-host is Mr. Kyle Johnson. We've had an episode together, and now we kind of bring in some people that Kyle wanted to talk to and thought would be fun conversation. So he's co-hosting the show, and I really don't know anything about Reed, but you can tell these guys know a little bit about horsemanship and have definitely some stories to tell. So want to just say thanks for coming. Appreciate you watching, listening, and let's get going. Reed, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
It's this kind of truth, like before the cameras start and before we start recording, a lot of people will say, well, I don't know why they would want to talk to me. What am I any good at? But the fact is, you're good at a lot of stuff. Being famous for it doesn't make you good or better or any other thing. It just, you're good at it, and I want to learn about it. Mostly I get to sit here and listen because you guys already are off and running, talking about the realities of horse training, horses that don't want to pick up on the message, dogs, and how you treat them, and how, building confidence is a lot better choice than, stripping confidence away from an animal or another person. So anyways, and I could have done a bunch of research and this and that, and then introduced you like, hey, this is Reed. He grows a really nice beard, all these things. But instead, I thought we'd just talk, man. I'd like to get to know you. Kyle can help me do that. I think the audience would too.
Absolutely.
You mentioned you got a place in the Brownwood area. Where do you come from? What's the Reed Sykes story?
Well, I grew up in Midland, Texas, and we had a ranch outside of San Angelo. I was the town kid that, they put on the broke grandma's horse that you think you're riding, and it's just kind of following around. So I really didn't ride growing up. I can't say I rode growing up.
Yeah. It's hard to say you rode when you actually do ride later in life.
Right.
You're realizing, I wasn't riding. I was getting babysat by the old horse.
But that lit a fire, and I remember laying in the ranch house, and I said, this is all I want to do. And so ever since then, I went to school, and graduated from Sam Houston. I went to about 5 different universities, so all throughout Texas. So I can't say one or the other, but I graduated from Sam Houston State, and went back to Midland because I didn't know what else to do. Went to work in the Oilfield, actually, as a salesman. And about 2015, so I graduated in 2008, started being serious about my riding then, and, really trying to get around good people. But about 2015, I said, this is kind of in for me. And I was coming down the hall to say, I think I'm going to not be in the oil field anymore. And I think they were coming down the hall to tell me, we're tired of you being here as well. You know what I mean? And so that was about the time that I met my wife. And, I was sitting there and I said, I don't think I want to be in the oil field anymore. I want to try some different things. And so 2015, I decided to start working for the public. And, you know what they say about a clown hanging a shingle and calling himself a roofer. So I was not good, and I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but ever since then, I am privileged enough and to be able to ride horses and also make put food on the table by doing it.
Man, to me, isn't that kind of what we're all chasing? Is that thing that we want to do that also allows us to put the food on the table and to have a life that we're, maybe not satisfied with, but happy with. Because I feel like everybody's kind of always striving for, a little more. That's part of the cowboy perspective. I'm not really satisfied with where I'm at. I want to be more. I want to be better. But I'm happy, And
I tell people, being a horse trainer, you have to do I run cattle. I do this. I'll run heavy equipment if I need to.
Yeah.
But I tell people in the horse training deal and the dog training deal, I may not always like it, but I always love it. I may not be happy that day about it, but I can always say that I wake up and I love what I do. There's many times that you think at the end of the day, you're like, this was the worst day ever, But I think for me, I don't really enjoy the company of people a lot. So if I can have the company of animals, I'd take that any day than, doing some corporate job where you've got to deal with hundreds of people that also don't know what they're doing.
It makes me wonder, what is on your shingle, Is it Reed Sykes horsemanship? Like if somebody needs a horse rode or a dog trained or is looking for a good dog, how does somebody hire you?
That's when you ask that question, it's something I've actually been thinking about. A lot of people, and this may seem like a different direction on it, but it's kind of answers what you're saying. They see what I wear, they see the tack that I use, and they think, well, you're a buckaroo, or you're the vaquero traditional horse. And I'm like, I'm not, or you're a cowboy because you wear a cowboy hat. I'm like, I'm not a cowboy, I'm not a buckaroo. I'd like to be a horseman one day. I wouldn't even say I'm a horse trainer or a dog trainer. And so it's like, I don't want to, if you're going to ask me what I am, I'm just a man trying to do each day the best that I can at what I'm doing and trying to perfect what I'm doing each day. I want to be perfect, but I also know that if you want, sometimes when you ask a horse to be perfect, that's when you got to have a little room for that gray area of, okay.
I've seen one of Kyle's videos that was like, look, I accomplished this small thing and everything else looks like terrible, but that was good enough for me. That one small thing was a step in the right direction that I'm happy with. And somebody who doesn't understand that's probably missing a lot of the joy that can be had in life and in working with animals. And
the two things that come to my mind there, one is a process that I use of training a horse, and the other is, and I'm not saying anything I say is not negative on anyone else. You know what I mean? Like Kyle and I were talking earlier. If it's negative, I'll tell you in person. I don't need to say on a podcast of something negative about somebody. But nowadays, everyone wants to quote Ray Hunt, which he's kind of, the Dorrances and Ray Hunt are kind of the godfathers of a lot of what we do. Yeah. And what they quote that I see is, give for the slightest try or reward for the slightest try. And it may just be the horse shifts its weight to where you want it to go. And so a lot of people quote that, but a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, right. I mean, because they don't even know what the try is. I can say that because that's me. A horse can be in my presence and we're working together and he is trying, or she, whichever, and I don't see it because I don't know. It could be as small as an ear movement, that is their try.
Correct.
And you don't catch it, so now they're looking for the next thing that might work. Okay, well, that I'm trying to do what I think he wants. It's crazy. Horses will figure out through gunsels what they want amazingly well. It's like, how did that horse know? I'm pulling on the reins, I want you to back up. I pull on the reins, I want you to slow down. I pull on the reins, I want you to stop. I pull on the reins, I want you to stop hard. It's like, how do they figure all of that stuff out without the steps of education? And a lot of them do.
It's almost like they were put here for a reason, huh?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think about that a lot. Like, the more and more you learn and the farther you come and the more horses you get that really humble you, you can think back to horses at the beginning of your career that you were just totally lucky. Like, they were really nice horses and you got really, really lucky and they just taught you a lot and helped you.
Oh, yeah.
One of the saddest things or days I had was my family raised a horse. I bought him off of them. I broke him, trained him. And man, he was so good. Although his name was Richard, and I called him Dick because there was just these things about him. Yeah. But he got crippled, and I just had to sell him. But it was like this was this horse that we lived together, a little bit. We grew up together. He knew me, I knew him. It was a lot of fun having that horse. Anyways, so you think about, I'm just echoing what you said. Sometimes you just get lucky and you get one that teaches you.
Well, and you saying the video that you saw of Kyle, what that made me think of Kyle giving for the, whether it's a shift in the weight or the step in the right direction. I have a thing that I do that it almost confuses the human. And I think what sometimes people miss is it may not even be in the right direction. It might just be that they're doing the start of what you want, and it may even be in the wrong directions. And here's the example. So we all know, you can bend their head around, and you want them to stand there. You also want them to move the hindquarters as well, right? Well, sometimes on older horses or younger horses, you'll bend their head around, and then you want them to move, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. And then it could be, you could also do it for a backup, but you bend their head around, and they don't move their feet, and they don't move their feet, but then maybe they waller forward, and it's not the hindquarters at all, right? But they've sat there, and they said, well, does it mean wait on you? No. Okay, you're still asking me something. Let me just try this, and even if they ran off with you, I'm going to give the head back. And people say, well, it didn't give your hindquarters at all. They just walked forward. And I say, just watch. The next time you bend their head around, the first thing they're going to do is move their feet. That's the first. I need you to move your feet to give your hindquarters. And then you just hang in there until they give their hindquarters. And it takes 45 seconds to get done. But I think I'm guilty of this myself, of trying things and wanting the horse to be too perfect, all the steps of the dance. And it'd be like trying to teach somebody that you can't talk to, that's never danced, to go and dance a beautiful dance. Well, how are you going to get that done? By whacking on them and screaming at them, and that's not going to make a move, especially if they're trying for you. And back to that quote, what people miss, and this is the base of all my training, because you can teach a horse to do anything under the sun within how its joints move and its emotional and physical capabilities. Everything that I do, I'm trying to show a horse, just try something. Because if you try something, we're going to build on that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what language, it doesn't matter what clothes I'm wearing, if you just try. And so I'm trying to go in from before the give for the try, I'm trying to teach a horse, hey, I'm going to do something, try something for me. And we'll have a great relationship. It may be that you buck me off, you give me that, I call it, I'll think of it in a minute. But it may be that you buck me off, but you moved your feet, I'll get back on, and,
I mean, where do you think you get that patience, though? Because, that's not natural for me. Anyways, that's a real question. I mean, Kyle and I have talked about that a little bit over breakfast is, one day you'll say, man, I've really got a lot better in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But then you realize, whoa, I still have a long ways to go. So did you start out super patient with that?
No, that's patience is my biggest flaw. I have no patience. But one of the things that horses and dealing with people, if you just go through life and you don't try to better the places where you're lacking,
right,
you're not going to be anything. And so, I have to, I have to consciously go into things and think, with the horses, patience of, working on my patience, feeling when those feelings start to come up of, I'm getting frustrated. I need to take a step back. I need to slow down. And then when you kind of educate yourself or you've had enough experience of, I know what's behind door number 1 or door number 6. Right. I know I can get this horse through that. Then you don't have to practice your patience as much because you know the outcome, because you've done it hundreds of times or thousands,
Right.
Go ahead.
I was just going to kind of add and agree to that it's like gone both ways for me, almost like when, say, you were almost more naive or young or green or ignorant to all the things happening and you were just trying to learn as much as the horse was, even the bad things almost seemed fun. And you had more patience, but like if you couldn't figure something out, you had less patience because you didn't know what to do. Whereas now you know more things and you know the outcomes and you know the stuff. So like when things aren't going very good or a horse is kind of struggling, you know how it's going to turn out. So it's easier to be patient in the moment. But at the same time, it works against you because the more I learn and the more better I can make a horse, like the more I just expect them to be better too. So I get in my own way a lot and I forget how to just ride them and just let them be and ride them. And it's hard for me not to get in their way and want them to be perfect because I know they can be, kind of.
You saying that makes me think of, I think the Colts are a little easier in the sense of that mindset. When I get my more disciplined horses, like, you know better, you know what I mean? And then you kind of got, it's like, well, you haven't ridden a sucker in 6 months. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to be less refined and just given a little bit of grace of, okay, whether it's a horse that doesn't know any better or, but I'm guilty of that too, where you start wanting it to be too perfect or wanting them.
Patience quotient ever compound when you're riding horses for other people and they're getting ready to come pick them up or they're getting ready to come look at them or, you're going to be held accountable to this horse's progress. I've never really done that. I certainly don't do it for a living. So I'm curious, like, is that a piece you have to balance?
Not with the horse. I've never had an issue of, maybe a horse isn't ready because I'll just tell them, you know what I mean? And the whole, there is, you saying that makes me think of something I would like to discuss later, but,
we don't have to do later. Let's discuss it now.
So my mind goes down. I think a lot of people, if you own a horse, you're a horse trainer, but I don't think there's a lot of people that do for the public. And I don't think there's a lot of people, and maybe you train for professionals and maybe you train for backyard Betty that's says she can ride but can't ride a swinging gait in a windstorm. And I'm not talking about any of my clients, future or past. But
well, if you're Clinton Anderson, you just talk about them like that blatantly. You just cuss them out, and they love you for it.
If you're going to send me a horse in the future, this is not about you. This is, but
I think those people also kind of know that too. I mean, they may not want to admit it.
Yeah.
Like, I know.
May I just make a side note on that because it may help you, but I'll say, like, I battled that for a little bit initially, and coming on social media being so blunt and so like, here's the line and like, this is the side we're on, and if you don't agree with us, you can stand on the other kind of thing. Like, a lot of people like warned me of like, you're never going to get a customer again now that everyone knows you're an asshole.
Yeah.
It made only good customers come.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It
weeded out any possibility of someone not being happy with you doing this to them or you calling them that. And it pretty much just cleared that up, and we're still booked as much as we'd like to be. So knock on wood if it keeps working, but it actually helped us.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, conceptually this works, but in reality it's scary or it may not work. Charge more and be more strict on who you take as a customer. It seems to play out to a bigger win every time. Anyways, we cut you off.
No,
Tell us about, I think we can also say negative things or be honest about experiences, because that is one of the questions I like to ask Kyle, anybody. It's like, tell me the story about your worst customer. Tell me the story about your most fun customer. And like, that helps me in life think about whatever I'm doing. Like, these are the kind of people I want to work with.
So, well, I got to finish this train of thought. So I don't think that a lot of people that a lot of people know what it's like to be under the gun, that you need to get an animal ready for someone that says they can ride. You've never really seen them ride. And whether it's just a cuddly little thing or something that's, you know what I mean, kind of a jerk of a horse or whatever it is, you got to get it ready in a certain amount of time to, if you're starting horses for that client, or if you're teaching lessons, you got to get them this person what they need at that time. Or if you're, you know, teaching a clinic and you go and you've got some idiot horse and the person's paying you to fix the problem, you know what I mean? And you've seen it. You guys know who Charlotte DeJordan is and that whole fiasco.
I don't.
She's a dressage rider from Great Britain. And there was she was going to go to the Olympics, and a video came out of her doing something and that was unethical, you know, in the horse world. And I don't know the ins and outs of it and to know well enough to speak on it. But from my point of view, there was a client that came with a horse that wasn't doing what it needed to do. And it looked to me like the horse had run out. You know, it's like when you say you're out of horse and they're trying to survive. They're not. And that happens all the time, right? That could just happen from going on a long circle, right? Yeah. But I don't think the public realizes, if you're not in these shoes, when someone comes to, you know, not mine, but the trainer's shoes, someone needs something and you're on the gun and you want to help them. And if you just said, well, sorry, can't fix it. Most people were like, you know, and they probably paid her who knows how much. And I think that it goes into that gentle horsemanship stuff, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that most people don't know the pressure, and I'm not saying it's right to lose your mind or whatever it is, but you cannot tell. I don't believe that a person riding horses or training horses has not lost their mind one time. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're humans.
Right.
And you got to take a step back and go, I don't really like myself like that.
Yeah.
And
y'all keep talking. I'm checking cameras.
Okay, you're fine. And so, you know, I don't think that the public knows that, and I'm not defending those emotional outbursts or whatever it is, but you know, these people that want to say everything's lovely all the time, you cannot tell me that you have not once been like, you know.
Yes.
And that's the practice that we're talking about with patience and coming back down and stepping back. And but I think I'm afraid to see what the horse world is going to, because these people, these professionals, I mean like Olympic level athletes and the top team ropers, and it's not worth it to them to teach these clinics to like me if then I'm going to make a video of it because I had some dink, you know, canter horse that needed to just be sold, of them fixing it and then later putting it out there and then, you know, whatever happened. So I think the top professionals are just going to say, good luck, you know. But
So how did you guys get to know each other?
I actually, we were talking about, well, unless you want to say how we.
I mean, it's just a question for both of you. Like,
this is where we met.
Yeah.
But I've seen his stuff on the social media, and he had obviously seen ours. And when I would look at his stuff, I really admired and looked up to him, to be honest. So not to be like cheesy or fangirl, but even when he would like then this goes back to him saying, like, sometimes just a little bit of encouragement could go a lot farther than you think. Mm-hmm. He's a great example of that for me, I can be honest, because despite how much attention maybe our page has, I don't really care about most of it, other than if it's coming from someone like I really admire and respect. So when we were getting positivity from him, I took it as a lot bigger thing than that would seem. Like, it didn't seem like much to like someone's thing or say something good about it. But when it was coming from him and I was this new on it, it incredibly
felt
helped
good.
me. Yes. Yeah. And I really appreciated it. And then I kept watching his stuff and getting more intrigued in his stuff. And then I just wanted to meet him and ask all these questions. So this was the perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
And that's how it all lined out. But I just really liked his stuff.
I mean, isn't social media like such an awesome thing, but then such a like scary thing and problematic thing all in one. It's this crazy dynamic thing.
I think of what I think, the way that I see social media and the way that I can package it up to where because I was born in '84, so social media wasn't really a thing, when I was in high school, and really not when I was in college.
Yeah, you lived back in the day of the old rotary phone. I mean, pre-cell phone.
Dial-up internet. AOL, they'd send you a CD in the mail. You had AOL Instant Messenger. I was actually talking about that last night, and you wait for the girls to come on. You're like, oh, I'm going to talk to my girlfriend from wherever, social media and people saying things that you're just like, you would not say that to me in person,
right.
So the way that I have to package up social media, and this is something I really want to talk about, because I think there's people out there that, whether they're a horse trainer for the public or not, they put videos up and it's what they're going to have to navigate. But I view social media as, and I even think if you're not a horse trainer, it's a commercial to your movie. And no one's going to put the bad parts of the movie in the commercial,
Yeah.
So my social media is a commercial to who I am, just to get you in the door, and maybe hopefully you want to gather some more. We were talking about 10, 15-second clips of a 12-hour day,
right.
And if I'm going to put the best stuff out there, you may not, and I'm not saying this stuff is bad, of maybe they're just not doing the right thing, but I'm not attacking a horse.
Well, I think if anybody wants to rewind to the very first of this conversation, y'all are talking about Kyle having Morgan pony a colt that he's on, and the colt gets away, and it's like, I feel like, at least Kyle, I'm not real familiar with your social media and the things you're posting about. I'm pretty familiar with his. I feel like he's not really afraid, or it might be Morgan, that's not afraid to kind of put out some of the imperfections of life, truth, all those things. To me, that's part of what drew me in. It's just like, yay. Like, the imperfection, you have to understand that's part of it, or like you're just in a dream world. Now, as a guy running a business, I can also understand, look, I got to put my best foot forward, because this may be the first time anybody sees anything about me, and they need to understand I'm capable of greatness. Anyway.
Well, back to what social media is. I mean, there's not anybody, even, let's just say Facebook, it's just your family page. You're not like, oh, I hate my wife. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love my family. I love my wife. Everything's peachy. And that's not the reality. Everything doesn't always go right. But, when talking about people saying things to you, or I think of it like, first, I'm like, you talking to me? Because I really don't care what you have to say. But if you're talking to the world, I don't think they care either. But I just think of it like it's a commercial talking to a commercial.
Yeah.
And when you took your time out of your day to do, okay, but you're not changing anything I'm going to do, And I just think that's something that, it's a great tool. I met people I never would have met. I've got to be around people that I would have never had a chance. But I think it's a tool that, like you were saying, just a little something, hey, great work, or, that makes you go, okay, you know what you're doing, but having somebody else that you think they know what they're doing say, hey man, you're doing all the good stuff. It makes you like, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much that changes once the whole world can see you. Like, you can be confident, really confident, if no one can see you. Like, I'm really, really, really confident at cow camp in the desert. How would you ever know how many times I missed before I caught a cow?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So then to, like, put that out there, it's crazy how that can change your perspective and confidence, and then really expose things you still have to work on. And I like leaning into weaknesses to work on them, like you were saying. And even like dressage, even like you compare riding bucking horses and bareback horses to dressage in a show ring, and they're not related at all. But that's why dressage has been so good for me, because it exposes all the weaknesses in me I've never looked at, as far as going that slow and paying that much attention and still being perfect. Like, I could only do good things if it was going so fast you couldn't think about it, and all you had to do is fight back and survive.
Yeah.
But when you can think about everything, I get flustered and have no confidence, and it feels awkward, and on and on and on. And that's why it's so incredible to me, because it exposes all my weaknesses and gives me a place to just work on those.
Well, the funny thing you saying dressage makes me think of years ago when I first met my wife. I think I'm getting kind of long in my horsemanship, but I never had like really any formal training. And luckily back then for me, there wasn't so much information, we'll call it that, we won't call it knowledge, but information out there on YouTube and the internet, where I would have been so lost, I wouldn't have known where to go. But my wife and I went and rode in a buck clinic, and he has the drills that you do this, you do that, and for 3 days I'm doing what he's saying, what I think he's saying to do. And my wife is an inventor, and one of the pieces is dressage. And we get home, and she's like, I don't mean to be rude, but when he was saying leg yield, your horse was just falling to the deal. And I'm like, I rode in that thing for 3 days, and, he didn't say anything, and my horse is all crooked. And so getting around, some dressage and things like that. But I always think of, and when I see Buck, I tell him, you didn't say anything. He's like, well, it's like what we talked about. I can't harp on all the things you're doing wrong. Right. I'd be like, wrong.
Yes, that's right. I mean? All I can tell you is wrong.
Yeah, you should
You're
go
trying. That's still wrong.
Go buy a tennis racket, because this is not working for you. Right. You know what I mean? But I think to pushing yourself, being uncomfortable. Like my wife to speak in public, she would just clam up and couldn't do it. And it's good to be same with the horses. So like bending them around, or roping a foot and leading them by a foot, or teaching them to hobble. A little bit of a bind. Don't put you past where you're going into fight or flight. A little bit of a bind where you're a little stressed. They may not show it to the world, but we know they're stressed till they start to work to try to figure it out. You know what I mean? You can't tell me when you put a saddle on one that your front cinches and your back cinches grab them where a lion does. And you can't tell me when you have something in their mouth and you're pulling their head around and their feet can't move like where they're comfortable, and they're not stressed.
Right.
So we put them in a little bit of stress, and we say, you can make it through. And then we play that similar to I call it like turn the volume up and bring it down, turn the volume up. And you see it in like arena horses that have never been outside, or rope horses like that have never had, our team roping horses that have never had to do a real
here's
job.
A great question. Have you ever trotted drag on a gathering crew on a horse that's never been outside?
Right. They're tripping and you're
pulling them back constantly because they're nervous. They don't know what's going on. They're just their energy's just high. They're trying to run through the cattle because they're just, and you're like, geez, will you just slow down and just calm down? Yep. I mean, if you've been there, it's like, that's just pressure. That's nervousness. It's unfamiliar. It's like I get nervous in unfamiliar environments. Real quick before I forget. About maybe a minute and a half ago, Reed said something like, I was doing what my interpretation of what he was saying, telling me to do was. It wasn't like, that's super mature, insightful, in my opinion, that you understand. You only had an interpretation of what you were being told to do. You can't say that you knew exactly what he was saying, so I think in life we all got to be able to kind of step back just a half a step and say, wait a second, this is what I think they want. It may not mean that I know what they want.
That was hard for me in the riding side of things, because the horses that I had, the saddle horses that I had didn't know how to stop, didn't know how to turn, didn't, spin. They didn't know how to do a leg yield. They didn't know how to do haunches in. So if I've never felt that, the horse doesn't know it either. You see it or they tell you and you think you're doing it. And it's watching a video of yourself, you're like, now I can't imagine what I was feeling at the moment when that horse was doing that. So if you've never done it, you never felt it, and you're trying to, let's say Kyle was telling me to do, if I was going to go ride broncs, he'd say, go do this. And I would be like, I'm doing that,
Yeah.
And he could be yelling it, but it's got to go, the words come out of his mouth, into my ear, into my body, and I've never done it before. My body doesn't know what it's doing. And one of the best things that ever happened to me, and if you're doing the dressage, you'll probably see this where they have the mirrors and the...
Oh, yeah, and the place I take lessons in is all mirror walled.
You start seeing it, you're like, oh, the feet are here or there,
It's
you know what I mean? You're like, that's what that
can
feels
do for
like,
you. Like, I used to think it was because they were so full of themselves and it was like a gym thing. But now that I ride in them, I just wish I could ride in front of them 24/7 because it is awesome to be able to have that. And then it gets you looking ahead, too.
Yeah. I'm bad about...
Yeah.
I ride very defensive, but I also ride looking... You'll see, I kind of do this and look down at the horse's head, and my wife's like, get your head up.
Yeah.
But,
like for you, and I talk about this concept quite a bit just because I'm interested in how other people take it. But like for me, like I went a long time in my career as just a cowboy or a horseman or whatever you want to call it. But I didn't know what lead they were in, as dumb as that sounds to admit. I didn't know like if it's a leg yield or a haunches in or a shoulder in, we're just going sideways. But my horses could get a gait the way I wanted them to. And this is what I mean by getting lucky is I didn't know shit about how to teach them correctly, but they got what I wanted. So I thought it was working kind of thing. And you could rope on them or you could get a gait on them or you could work an alley in them. But there was a lot wrong that you had no idea. So then you start learning these better and better and better things. And at first they almost got in my way because once I started learning all this stuff, I started thinking everything I do at all is wrong. So now I have to perfect this and I have to perfect this and this can't be wrong. So this has to be right. So I can't do this and I can't do this. And then pretty soon my horses can't even walk a straight line.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell's going on. Or I get them too good before I go out. And it's almost harder to go out and expose them to that when they are pretty good. And I'd almost rather them be really green and almost hard or dull. Like, not hard mouth that they were made that way, but hard mouth because I didn't know anything yet. And you can just kind of two-hand them around the stuff they're worried about until they're not so worried. It's almost harder for me, like something that's real bred forward and really wanting to go anyway. But really savvy is a lot of buttons you've already put in them in a pen really nicely. And then now they're boogering about something and you're just trying to go straight, but you pick them up to just roll on, and now they don't know if you're trying to get them to turn around or if they should do this or that, and they're just really overwhelmed right now, and then you're mad because you're like, you're so much better than anything I've ever rode, and you can't even go out in the desert. Do you know how many pieces of shit I've went across this desert on? And you can't? Like, what is going on? And it's just kind of, it's interesting how things keep changing. Like, you keep exploring, and you can keep getting humbled all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so glad you shared that because it's just a real picture of being a horseman, training horses, life. Like, I think kids are idiots because it gives you a bit of a propensity to do stuff that you might not do once you get a little older and you really know like you should. Like, that's a good example to me. This horse knows so much, but they're totally ignorant to trotting 5 miles in a straight line or just dodging cactus or whatever that is. They don't have any clue about that. And now it's like crazy to go out there into the real world. It's like I'm thinking about that as a parent. I want to prepare my kids for the path, not the path for my kids. So, like, I need to put them in stressful situations and into places that they don't know the answer and they have to come up with it. It sounds kind of like what you're talking about with that horse.
Yeah, those two, my brain goes to 10 different thoughts. I think that, talking about kids, there's a lot of horses that I see that I'm like, if a kid, ignorance is kind of bliss. And I think sometimes starting horses, we overcomplicate the first ride, and a kid would just hop on and not think of all the bad things that could happen, and I need to do all these steps. They'd probably just get on them and go, and they'd probably be going pretty good, because they weren't in their way. And a lot of horses that I see, you try to break it down into every step, and then they're like, oh, well, I'm going to wad up and buck instead. Just go, you know what I mean? Just get moving, and they'd probably be all right. Not saying that in reference to that, more of the ignorance is kind of bliss. And when horses kind of do that, looking at something and moving, I'm like, oh, you can move. I want that. Let's do it together. And then the next piece of, they're worried or they're thinking, because you tried to correct them or something to be what you wanted. And I think of whether it's buddy sour or barn sour horses, or maybe they stepped over a rope and got it up in their flank. But now I like to think of there's a vessel of anxiety that's overflowing. And if you have an overflowing, that energy, there's relaxation, and then there's the horse that runs off with you to go wherever it needs to. It's overflowing. If you add energy into that vessel, you're not. It's what I mean. We need to go to this side, so I need to do whatever I need to do to relax you. That's not giving you a cookie. It might be a pet. It might be riding a circle and not even think. You know what I mean? Just a 10-foot circle. And it may be nothing. It might just be, let's ignore it and keep going, and you don't got to worry about that because I'm not worried about it. And like, I've got a horse, it's the horse we were talking about that I've got out in California, and I mean, you can do anything on him, and he's only like 850 pounds. You can go rope 2,000-pound bulls, and he's like, hell yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? I go run over bucking. If somebody's horse is bucking, I'll just go smack him in the shoulder. He's like, get me in there. You know what I mean? But then he'll spook at a rock, and you're like, dude, the same rock has been there. And he's, you know what I mean? And you just have to like, okay, whatever. And, but you saying that made me think of that. And I think for me, the dog training and the horse training has helped me see the world. I don't have any kids, but think of how I'd want to raise my kids if I ever have them. And so it's just what a great business and way to put food on the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm moving that.
Oh, no, you're good. Like, I wear these just everything. We're getting good audio, so we're in good shape there.
And like for me to add to all this too, so out in the desert or even on a smaller ranch before I went to the desert, or in Canada when everything had to be inside because it was 60 below, you think there's some things that might booger a horse, and you definitely have to get them around cows, and you're going to rope on them, and you might have a wreck, and you're going to have to hobble them, and they're going to have to get used to this. And to the outside world, or to everyone else, these are big, wild things, and how it's impressive or whatever to go that far in the desert, or to do this with a cow, or to do this with a rope, or on and on and on, or even to do any of that on something real stingy or touchy and you're alone. Mm-hmm. So then you do all of that, and it's so different, and the whole world is so heroicizes stuff like that you really do think this is probably better or farther along, or this and this and this to what most people have ever done. Mm-hmm. Okay, but you can't forget all of the stuff that I haven't done. So then we come to Wickenburg, and you think well, this is going to be a piece of piss because I've already done it. Here. All these were way harder. They were all tougher horses. It was all for less of a cause and less money, on and on and on. All my bosses were meaner. This is going to be easy for me. A cakewalk, a piece of absolute piss. And it's just a 20-acre, yard, and there's 2 arenas, and there's a round pen, and there's cattle, and there's stuff going on, and there's stuff for him to get used to, and there's all these people, and there's all this stuff to do, and this is going to, like, in 3 days, all my horses are just going to be broke, and this is going to be easy, and I don't even know why anyone struggles with this stuff. And then I get there, and, like, horses can't go across the yard, and they don't know what a house is, and they don't know what this dog kennel is, and they've never seen this truck before, and the tractor's running, and the dogs are barking, and on and on and on. And I'm like, how is this bothering any of you? Like, this is not that big a deal. Now I can't even ride around.
Yeah.
I literally have to haul these things to the end of the cul-de-sac so I can ride in the desert to just get them away from some of this stuff. And what's going on, and this is like a circus, and I'm packing a CO2 gun now to shoot these dogs away from me. And these people want to talk to me, and every time something's going bad, everyone's looking at me. So now they think I'm weak, like dumb, and don't know what I'm doing. And I had this conversation with Morgan, like, I just suck at all this stuff, and none of these horses are riding good, and everyone just stands around and watches me all day. Like, what the hell are they looking at? And on and on and on. Why does all this stuff bother me? And it, like, hit me before she could even answer of, like, oh, because all this stuff annoys me.
Yeah.
That's why my horses are bothered in this environment, because it's been years before I've even been around this many people. I can't stand small talk. I don't like the tractor noise. I hate the four-wheeler. I really wish they would turn the golf cart off. There's nowhere on this place you can't walk to. I don't know why 3 four-wheelers are going at all times, round and round and round and round and round, and these people. And then she, like, answers the question for me as, like, why they're looking at you. And it's like, you're working with all this stuff they've never seen. You're doing it in a way they've never heard of.
Yeah.
And you're just doing it as if this is, like, common knowledge they want to watch. They're, like, impressed with you. Well, I take it as I suck at everything, and everyone... No, like, do you guys have nothing better to do than watch me? Like, I know I'm plenty busy enough to not be watching you. I don't know why you need to be standing around watching me. Like, I could find you something to do if you're bored. But to them, it's, like, interesting. To me, it's just a lot of pressure of wondering why they think I'm, like, a bozo or something. Like, what are you looking at me for? What do you want? You're not helping me. And, I got spoiled to that concept, too, of, like, starting Colts with 3 cowboys. Like, being with Ranch Crews, you get spoiled to the fact that everyone there can help you and knows how much it sucks. And, like, maybe there's different levels and different talents, but the boss will delegate that accordingly, and at least everyone there knows what it's like when this starts to go bad, and they know what would make it go better. Yeah. Everyone there in the yard, they don't want you to get hurt, and it's not like they think it's funny, but they ain't going to come T-bone you.
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to be like, whoa.
Yeah, that...
Hold on.
Yeah. Hang on.
You're making a good ride.
Yeah.
dig, ride.
Okay.
Yeah, what goes through my mind when you're saying that is that might be the uncomfortable things that we've talked about, of putting yourself in those spots and know when those feelings start bubbling up, and whatever you need to do to go, okay. Yeah. To conceptualize and rationalize and put it in a box and understand what's going on in the situation that you're in, so then that way you can do the best job you can. And I'm guilty of that, where what you made me think of is having expectations of the day. I have what I would like to happen, like I'm going to go gather this pasture, or I need to get this bull doctored, or I need to do this, train this horse in this way, or whatever. But I don't have it. We could be here all day. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes you are. Sometimes if you're alone, it might take all day.
Anybody that's ever worked in this industry, farming, ranching, horse training, understands the day that you expect to get a bunch of stuff done will get derailed so fast.
Yeah.
It's like you wake up flat on the trailer. You know, it's like, what? It's like immediately you're not going to be able to get it all done that day. I mean, it just spirals out. So it's a good one. It teaches you to just say, hey, man, I got a plan, but we're going to roll with the punches.
But when it goes to, like, my wife helped me move some cows one time, and we just, like, opened the gates, and they like, moved over, and I was like, oh, God. And she's like, what? That went perfect. Like, it only took, however long. was like, tomorrow's going to be a wreck. Now I just know it went too good. Like, they're going to be out on the highway tomorrow.
The karma of this day is
if
gonna
it goes
be
too
paid
good,
for.
like, you're like, it's just going to be a wreck the next time we need to do anything. So, but it's undesirable expression of energy. That's what I was trying to think of. Like
Oh, there
bucking,
you go.
kicking out. People are like, oh, he bucked, he did this, or he. I'm like, it's just not really how I want you to express that energy. Let's channel that.
Expression of energy. Put a yeehaw in there, Dave. The producer, sometimes I just tell him, hey, like, that's a yeehaw thing, because you can think about that in so many ways. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to freak out about that, because that's just an undesirable expression of energy. And the energy has to be expressed. So let's allow that and then try to get it directed in the right direction.
Well, and if you're looking at, sorry to keep talking, but when you look at horses, when I watch people's horses that buck, all the videos, they would trip if they were, how big they're bucking, how high their feet are coming off the ground. If they were loading in a trailer, they would trip on themselves because they're not coming off the ground.
Yeah.
But when horses buck on the first ride, I found there's about 4 reasons they buck on the first ride. Either you'll see them cross-firing on the hind end, and I think that they go, I don't know where my feet are, I'm not comfortable. All I can do to feel, now this has got me, I'm going to buck. When they go into the lope or the canter, that's usually when they'll buck. And a lot of times, if you can kind of bend them around, what happens when you bend them before you get on them, your cinches are around them, and when you bend them, they get bigger in the midsection, and so it comes tighter, and then it kind of pulls your latigos, and loosens and gets everything. So I'll bend them one way and get the hindquarters moving, bend them another, get them moving. And then that way, if they do hump up, it doesn't grab them, because they may hump up and you could ride through it, and that cinch doesn't grab them right where the lion gets them. The other way that I see horses buck is you can see the horses, it's like the first time they put a bridle in the horse's mouth, no matter what it is. A snaffle, doesn't matter. And the horse is troubled in the mouth. And the horse goes to move, and the person does this because they're afraid of the horse moving. And I'm guilty of it myself. And then it hits them in the mouth, and then they buck. And it's like, if most people would just go with them when they move, that first little hop, they probably wouldn't buck. If you do those things, if you get their feet where they're comfortable moving, and if you didn't hit them in the mouth, yeah, most people could ride colts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is that what you do mostly, is break colts or ride colts?
I
do. You show, like, some of that stuff is questions I have, which, Kyle, I'm jumping in front of you all the time. Like, if you got questions,
I'm doing
ask
perfect.
them.
I've got one lingering question that I've had before I even flew down here for a minute. I haven't opened it yet, but you're doing good.
All right, well, cool. So tell me, like, are you a colt starter? Are you a finished horse rider?
So do I show? There's a joke I say. They call me added money when I show up, because there's no point in me going, I'm going to lose. I've done some team roping, like, literally like 3 times, and I'm like, I just donated my money. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't show. I'd like to show. I'd like to play polo. I'd like to do some other things. I mostly, yes, I start colts. My wife is so in eventing, you have different levels and difficulties.
What is eventing? Because, I mean, I kind of have a guess, but I can't say that I
So, do you remember, I say this and my wife gets mad. She's like, don't tell people that. The old Superman, Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
He was paralyzed.
He got real hurt, right?
Yeah, he's paralyzed from eventing. Eventing is, from my understanding, it originated from the military. It's a 3-day competition where dressage is the first day, cross country is the second day, and they're going, mock Jesus at things and jumping things that are supposed to keep animals in. I'll show you a picture when we're done of some of it. And then the third day is show jumping, so back to stadium.
Okay.
So you get them all perfect, and then you're running, you know what I mean, nose out, tail up, going, and then you get them back into a tight little space. And I love the way that they do the third day, because the person in first place has to go last. So you watch everyone go, and you know what you have to do, and I mean, the pressure's on you, they have different levels from you're jumping stuff this big to you're jumping things that, would keep a dinosaur
Shouldn't
in.
have been jumped, yeah.
Well, like, tell me, what 6 foot, 10 foot, 12
I can show
foot?
you if we can take a quick break and scroll. I can get you a picture on my phone if you
Well,
want.
we'll do that
Okay.
afterwards, and then we'll stitch it
There,
into the
I could
episode.
lay some of the tables that they're jumping. I could lay, like if they're jumping this way, I could lay across it.
Oh,
and
so
they're-
it's distance and height.
Yeah, and they're this tall
Yeah.
and some of the stuff. But it's different levels, and she's ridden up to the 4-star level, which is at Kentucky. So I get a lot of their horses that are,
Rejects or something?
no, not rejects. I think a lot of, they get these talented horses, and they know it's going to do the job, and they kind of almost over-ignore some of the issues, and then they get to a point where that issue catches up to them, and it's just kind of retraining the brain, teaching them to move, handle certain situations. I've helped her out a lot and her friend out a lot, and we're at a barn with a lady that her friend's mother won Kentucky, like the first American in however long, a couple of years ago. So I get a lot of them. I get backyard people. I get just anybody that sees
What
me.
breeds do you ride mostly?
Everything. I've got a
Everything.
gypsy banner that I
Oh,
started.
my daughter's going to love you. She wants a gypsy banner so bad.
Quarter horses, thoroughbreds. My wife and I go to Germany and Ireland, and we get Irish sport horses. We get horses from Germany.
Have you gone to Spain?
I have not. I'd like to. I'd like to do that. But I just get to tag along when she goes horse shopping. But so team ropers, cutters, anything under the sun. And I, asking if I compete, I wish that I did, because one, I think in today's society, unless you have a bunch of blue ribbons on the wall or you're holding checks or you're a number 9 roper, people don't know. They say, well, who are you?
Yeah.
And so it'd give you something to fall back on, or if I was a reiner or something like that, to fall back on. But to me, it's all the same. It wouldn't matter if it's somebody just wanting a trail horse or horse for their kid or problem horses. I get everything.
Have you heard of the Northern California Reined Cow Horse Association?
I have, but I haven't dug into it.
I can't say a lot about it because I wasn't in the area very long, but I did show in that association when I lived in Red Bluff,
Mhm.
and then I was getting a lot of help from Travis Dickinson,
Okay.
and he shows in that
Mm-hmm.
association too. And I will say, just if I was going to speak for any association or say anything about being welcoming for amateurs, that was an incredible association that still had elite people going, but they have like a cowboy class there too, and then the non-pro, of course. But like, as far as us, like, even if we've never made a reined cow horse, you can't show in the non-pro because we're our horse trainers. So you can show in the cowboy class, like the open cowboy class. And
I gotcha.
it was incredibly fun and incredibly welcoming. And another thing they appreciated, but so did my Colts and so did I. And it was eye-opening to see how little the people could do this. But you just go there and work. And you could trade off your fees by just working cattle during the whole show and helping the show.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it helped my horses too.
Anyways, yeah.
And I like that stuff better. And then I didn't think about competing. Like, I'm just doing my job and working,
Yeah,
and then,
the normal.
they call my name, I gotta go, kind of do my deal, and then I'm back to work again, and I can put my head down and no one knows I just did bad. So I incredibly liked that association, and if anyone was ever, like, that had talent and could show but didn't really know or felt like it was kind of like dipping your toe in cold water to go compete somewhere, I would strongly recommend that
it.
association, because it's small enough too that it's not hard for people like us with lives and jobs and priorities to go to pretty much all of them in a season and be part of their whole summer season. I really, really liked that whole
I'll check
thing.
that out. And it, I think that's important.
Now, do you live in California?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
Do you go out there a lot?
So I go out.
I always get confused. I'm not sure. I thought sometimes you lived in Southern California. I wasn't sure.
It depends on what month that. I'm currently in California. Yes.
Okay.
So depending on what month of the year, like I'll be in Brownwood, Texas, from probably March to June 1st, around in there. If we don't have any grass, I won't be there. I'll be somewhere else. When I'm not there, my wife is either on the East Coast or the West Coast, so I'll go out.
Oh,
to
that's
hang out where
right.
she
You
is.
mentioned something about, like, that's kind of how her career works.
Yeah, so we get to, I mean, I tell my wife and everyone often, I'm like, if I had known that this was a thing, you know, or a cowboying or whatever, when I graduated school, that you can just go do this and be around horses all day, and like I would have, or probably would have never went to school. I would have just done this. But no, so I'm on the road. Just, you know, we're in Temecula, California right now. We've been Florida. We spent springs in Ocala, you know, up and down the East Coast. But back to the competing thing, I've done a couple of those like 3-man big loop ropings, you know, like I'd love to go do the buck one. And I'm a pretty okay roper. I catch about 98% of like half the loops I throw, you know? So,
Yep.
but when I went and roped on a team the very first time, you know, I'm confident. Let's back up. I'm confident starting horses, whatever. Like if I'm in a ranch situation, or like you said, everything going on, doesn't bother me. I'm confident talking to anybody I could get in front of. But the first big loop roping I did with 310 rope guys. I was on their team, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't let them down. It was the biggest I mean, I couldn't even rope, couldn't even throw my rope. It was so bad. But that's what we talked about earlier of, you know, putting yourself in a situation. And, you know, when I get too confident, I'm like, I need to go to town and like knock myself down a little bit. You know what I mean? Get around some really good, whether it's cutters or like polo or whatever the case may be. But
that's good insight. I think it's really insightful, and probably most humans get it, but they don't stay awake to the truth that, you know, it's like you don't want to just stay where you're good all the time. You got to go somewhere where you suck. Like, and you need to feel that. You got to feel that pressure that's not even real. You're just making it up. You know, it's like,
right.
It's man-made. It's dreamed up and self-inflicted pressure. It is like, in fact, you're going to live tomorrow most likely, and it's all going to be just fine. Like your life is not over no matter what. Until it is, and then you don't care. You know, it's
Well, just like going out to the desert with my horses now, when I don't have to get out of the yard in a way. Like, I know for a fact that doesn't help my horses as much as it helps me. But allowing that to help me once in a while is helping my horses. And you can't just stay out there. Like, I couldn't just stay at the YP forever and think that I could be what I'm trying to be now. So you have to acknowledge where you're uncomfortable, but it's okay to go back to what works for you too, or what you enjoy or what you like. You don't have to discredit or just throw everything that's special to you in the garbage can. Yeah. Like, it's okay to go back to the desert sometimes just to breathe, just to
reset and
like, okay, everything's fine. And now we go back to the yard, and you think that just helped your colt, but all it did was like bring me down a little bit and help me a little bit. And I think that will help your horses, is to just, where are you going to be most comfortable? Like, just like excessive groundwork. Like, to me, you don't need that much if they're not that bad. And if they're that bad, more groundwork ain't going to make them much better. So you can just well be on, because on them will be your safest point. So I think the whole excessive groundwork thing, once you go beyond continuing to teach them, like, for example, my groundwork maybe has gotten more excessive now because of certain maneuvers or leg procedures that I can do on the ground to then do on their back. That's different. But like this excessive desensitization, that's preparing the person mentally, not the horse physically. But it's okay if it works for the person. I think it can go too far, and now you're going in the wrong direction. But if all of that stuff is actually helping the person's comfort, not the horse's.
So this is just my opinion on this facet of horse training. But I think that horse trainers are doing the public and clients a huge disservice by, I can't tell you, and you're going to hear it and have probably heard it, is, well, I sent this horse to so-and-so and they did X amount of groundwork, whether it's a month, and they're like 6 months of groundwork. And it's like, you paid for 6 months of groundwork? So for me, and it's not saying groundwork's not important, and it's not saying that I might not ride one for 30 days and then also do some stuff on the ground. But if I'm not on them in 7 days, I need to be I'm not qualified for that horse. And that there's nothing wrong with saying, this is too much horse for me. We need to find another trainer better fit for you, because I'm just taking your money and robbing you by that. You know what I mean? Usually,
I mean, is the goal to ride the horse or to work it in a round pen? Like, is that what you want to do with this horse in your relationship? You just want to be able to get in the round pen and make him turn and that? You know, okay, then that's a different thing. But if your goal is to ride them, use them, enjoy them, let's get on their back. Yeah. Let's start making that a reality.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with groundwork, but if you're working for the public and someone's hired you to ride them, you know, obviously my thought is, I want to be safe, but if I can't get on them, usually I get on them when they get off the trailer. I used to do it in front of the client, but I think I got the impression that they were like, well, I could do that. And it's like, no, you couldn't, because you're afraid to open door number one.
Right.
But usually I'd just take off the trailer. Not usually. There were horses that I would just pull off the trailer, go in the round pen, tack them up and get on and walk trot canter and put them away. And I quit doing it in front of the clients because I felt like the impression was, oh, well, this is day one, you know, minute one. But I just have a rule. If it's more than 7 days of groundwork, I'm not qualified to get on.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I find that I come back to different groundwork.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't all have to be done before I ride them. Like, I'm going to ride them pretty soon and get them out and moving and riding, and we might come back to some things to make them better about picking their feet up be better to be around. Or let's say, you know, the client it's going back to, so maybe I wouldn't do this with everything, but I have to make sure this horse is at least safe if I act as stupid as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably 2 or 3 weeks down the road where I'll start doing that. But I've already rode them 10, 12, 15 times and then come back to some more things just to make sure they're going to stay solid.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, like, I've got a horse for my buddy right now that he's had with me for 6-7 months, and this sucker would jump a fence to go back to this colt would jump a fence to go back to his friend. And I'm like, I really don't want to be on you when you jump this gate and get hung up. So I just get my coffee and shoo him to the other corner, and he would buck and throw a fit to be away from his buddy. And that may be an hour of doing that, or 30 minutes while I'm having my morning breakfast and coffee and enjoying my shade. And then after he said, okay, I'm all right over here, then I'll get on and we'll go out and do whatever, you know. Yeah. And that horse since then has never once whinnied, has never once thought about going back to his friends. And it's like, so there's nothing wrong with groundwork, and there's nothing wrong with flagging them. But if you're telling a horse all the time, ignore everything, and then you get on and the cow's about to run you over, and you're and they're not going anywhere, or maybe they spark up and buck you off and the cow gets you, what use was flagging them to death, you know?
Right.
So
that's so true.
You died one way or the other anyway,
right.
So.
Right. Yep.
Oh, man, this is all so good.
So if this is starting to wrap up, I got to sneak in this
question.
Yeah,
get your
just
question.
because it really intrigues me, and I think it will intrigue the public. And based on the comments, there's all kinds of different comprehensions of this, but I want to know more about the school halt and where that comes from and derives from, and then what would be the next step beyond that, far as if that is step one for what your goal is.
So I can tell you the two pieces to it that I think. There's one, the reason that I do it, and then kind of what it is. And then there's also the reason I don't like to do it very much. And there's also, this is all my understanding. This is things I've watched, and I'm like, that looks kind of cool. I'm going to try it, right?
What discipline does it come from?
My understanding, it comes from the classical dressage.
Okay,
that's
what
from like, I don't quote me on anything, but I want to say it's like the French classical way, and it's what they would do with their cavalry, and
Okay.
But to start, there was a story. I was at a clinic, and Buck said that a story told of Ray where some dressage lady came up and was like, "We want our horses on the forehand or on the hind end, not on the," and all this stuff. And that he watched Ray, they get in the middle, and he was slowly moving the horse's feet together, hind and front together, and then he had that horse standing like this, like where they're just right. And I thought, that's cool. You can put a horse's feet anywhere. Well, then school halt is you're putting them on the hind end. They're picking up one foot. The next would be, my understanding would be the levade, which they're picking up both front feet. Yep. And then the next, I don't know the words of them, but where they jump and they kick out, or they can do.
They do that with the Lusitanos quite a bit, and that's kind of a Portuguese thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a military thing to jump over someone in battle, basically, but they buck like as high as that.
I've seen it. You can see this video of this horse just jumping up, kicking out.
And
y'all are talking about stuff that I'm totally ignorant to. Like, I don't even know what school halt is.
For you or the public, is just like, and I'm not trying to answer his question because he knows how and I don't, but it's just when they stop and you, because of your aid, you ask them to pick up their one front leg.
They're dropping they're dropping the croup, they're bending at the stifle and the hock and the fetlock. All the weight is,
so everything is rolling to this.
So, and that was what drove me to learn to try to figure that out is, can I just put the feet wherever? I don't like doing it. There's a reason I do it, and there's two reasons I do it, and then I'll tell you, I don't like doing it a lot because I've found that horses will, in a moment of I need a lot of life, they'll do something you practice a lot. Like, have you ever been on a horse and you're like, I'm not asking you to spin, and the person or a sliding stop or whatever it is, they get anxious and they just revert to default. They did a lot of this, I'm going to do it. So I don't want, like, if I need to drag you in a cow in a trailer, I don't want you doing school halt. You know what I mean? Or if I need to get out of Dodge, I don't want you doing it. The two reasons that I do it and the two reasons that I show it, one is you're making them squat. You're making them get strong how we want them. You're showing them that, hey, the way you travel as a quadruped is not how I need you to travel. I need you on the hind end. And, horses are on the forehand just naturally. The second reason is, how many times and this is kind of the second reason is, how many videos do you see out there that someone says, I want my horse on the hind end, and I do this and this, and they're on the hind end, and they're traveling around, and they are not on the hind end.
Oh, a million times.
They're traveling around, if you know what I mean.
And and their neck is in front, and their head is down, and they're behind their hand. But they say that they're on the hind end because the front feet are moving. Well, if you watch, like, their front feet are dragging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even when they back up, they drag 11s with their front feet. Yeah. That's not off of the front end.
Yeah. And how many times have you heard, I drive from behind and I hold in front? That's a German way. And I've watched a lot of, when I went to Germany, I saw what they do. You know what I mean? I mean, the women over there are like more buff than I am because they're
pulling on them or holding them at least.
So the reasons I do it is a display, or the reason I put it out there is a display to show this is what on the hind end is.
Yep.
And a display to show I do it without even pulling, you know what I mean? But the main motivation is, like, if you read Nuno's books, he talks about certain things. If you go back to Boscher in the 18 or 1700s,
that's who I like to read his.
He talks about certain things, and Nuno, I believe, says if you can't stop with a spur, it's not a trained horse. Well, that's counterintuitive to what we're taught. Spur legs mean go. Well, there's a lot of things that mean a lot of things to horses.
Yeah.
That one thing is not one thing. Now, some people need to ride that way because they're at where they're at in their wheelhouse, so they're riding. But those are the reasons that I do it. Just to strengthen my horse, strengthen the muscles, strengthen the tendons. I might do it once a month or once every couple weeks.
And where I thought it was really cool, and I kind of get out of it and don't make this a habit either with how I do it, but I'd never heard of a school halt before your videos.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted to ask. And I'd never seen it in riding until I seen it from you. But I had, like, seen it on accident myself, and could notice the right it was doing, so I kept doing it when I'd use running W's on Colts.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always used them to just crash horses that needed crashed.
Mm-hmm.
But I started doing it with horses I thought needed crashed and then maybe didn't, so you could just stop them with one leg. And then you start really watching them and putting a whoa on them with running W's on purpose, and it's not to crash but to train. You get school halts every time, and you can start to pick which leg, and you can really see him like sit back and correct, and you can watch now instead of being on him and trying to feel it. So then I would just start that and see how soft I could get that all the time. And then just bring the rope up with me when I start riding them, and then that's where I start it, and then I never do it again or pick their leg up like that again. It was just to teach them to sit that way and to stop that way comfortably and softly without having to shape them up with their face mechanically.
Yeah, and it's you saying that, my mind goes to it's similar to, that's how they would. So they say you're stopping or a halt, and it's preparing them for the next. Am I going to jump over this guy that's or jump into this guy that's coming at me with a sword? So it's similar to like in football where you get in the position, your knees are bent, you know what I mean? You're lowered, center of gravity. I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but I think that it's. Oh, I remember. If you watch the way that people teach piaffe and passage, where they tap the hind leg and they pick the feet up, those are meant to be on the hind end. Those two maneuvers are meant to be on the hind end. Yes, they're moving, and the joints are moving correctly, but the weight's still on the forehand. And however people want to train that, it's fine, but that movement is supposed to be not this way,
Right.
And so that's the reason, is just to show where you go. Someone can say, you see that sucker, his dang fetlocks are on the ground. You know what I mean? He's like in it,
Yeah. But then, like in some of the Boucher grids and books, like I dove really deep into this dressage in the last couple months.
Oh, yeah?
Way deeper than I thought. Like, first I was kind of interested, and then I thought I might like to go to Spain to see Spanish dressage horses. And then all of a sudden, overnight, it just quadrupled.
Now he's got an English saddle.
Yeah.
What do you call
I
the
went
boots?
all in. Like I got all the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm taking Spanish dressage lessons. I got accepted into a program in Spain in April.
I was wondering where you're going. Nice.
I got a Andalusian horse. He's green and young, but like got something to take to lessons aside from a quarter horse now. So I like really dove in. I got a lot of literature, a lot of stuff. I feel like I'm in great hands with who I'm taking lessons from, and we got a good trade deal going on. So it's not depleting anything.
Yeah, right.
It's adding, really.
Yeah.
And but like just to study that, like it's hard to admit this many times that you've been this wrong about so many things.
Yeah.
Hey, but I got to jump in. You guys, I'm almost glazed over because y'all are just talking about stuff I don't know. Like, I can marginally tell which lead my horse is in when I'm on top of them and we're loping a circle. And most of the time I'm looking down to try to catch which foot's in the lead. Then I learned, actually, the lead comes from the back end. Like, you can be in a front left lead and a, what do you call that when the back side's in a different lead? Crossfire. I didn't know that. You're talking about bending at the pole, words that I'm like just unfamiliar with. Yet I've grown up around horses on a ranch my whole life. It's like, man, it's okay. I'm not an idiot, but I am not as astute in this business as you guys are. So that's why I'm super glad to have you on the show and that you're sitting here talking about it, because that opens up an audience that knows those things, that otherwise they're coming here and they're like, oh yay, we're going to talk about, roping a calf and tie downs and this stuff that's kind of just like,
Well, it may not appeal to
Well, I mean, and can arguably be putting the horse in a worse position to do the thing you want him to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like,
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much time we got, but feeding off what you're saying, that things you didn't know, you know what I mean? I think, like, I can't tell you how many times I said it earlier. You're the vaquero tradition because of how I dress myself and my horses. And my thought is, well, if the vaquero tradition, and I love the vaquero tradition, don't get me wrong, but if the vaquero, a lot of people now play dress up. But if the vaquero tradition is a war horse that's going to go get in the middle of everything, but also be broke off a number of different things, well, then that's it. You could also say it was the Mongols or the Cherokee or the French, or that's what I'm trying to make. I want a horse that if I need to go, like I took this video down, but I was jumping a cow that we had stretched, you know, and everyone's like, that's torture. I'm like, you know what? If your kid was getting run off with on the other side of that going on, you wouldn't want me to, let me circle around this whole deal. You'd want me to get in the middle of it, and I want my horse to be able to do it. I don't jump every cow we stretch, you know.
Right.
So if the vaquero deal is, I want a war horse,
then absolutely.
then that's what it is. And a lot of these people that, I won't say anything bad. I think that they say they're making a war horse, and you're like, let's go get a foam sword and let's see who's got the war horse, you know.
And like going back to them books and some of that Boucher writing, or the one that I can't pronounce, but it's like Francois La Grenier or something.
Yeah,
like
I can't.
that.
I'm the same way.
But like some of their grids is like, okay, we've all been taught how to, or we've seen it done, of holding them behind the bridle and then pushing their hips up.
Yeah.
Or like pushing up the haunches in to go into your lead parture, all from the hip. And it feels good. And if you get a horse to take it that's soft, it starts to make you feel like a horse trainer. And it's how a lot of reined cow horses are and whatever. But they're still on the front end and their feet still drag.
Yeah.
Whereas like in these grids, it'll like paint the picture that no matter how far you walk up the hind end, the second the forehand comes back, like in forward movement, not that it never can, but in forward movement, if it ever comes back from purposely straight, they're on the forehand, no matter how much you drive the hindquarters ahead. So like, you can't hold anything back. You have to drive the hindquarters ahead in a way that it actually lifts the shoulder, and that's where everything gets elevated, and that gets really hard to understand and wrap your head around when you don't
never
stop by sitting anymore either. And you're like, well, how in the hell am I getting them off the forehand when I roll up like this? But then your horse is rearing in the air, and you're like, okay, that gets him off the front end for damn sure, but I don't know how or why.
Yeah, and there's a difference in, you know, let's say they're, because a lot of people teach their, not that you're doing this, but they'll teach their horse to rear, and they think it's, is the weight on the hind end? Yes, but they're not squatted under themselves. So they can't use that spring. And you said a word, drive the hind. I think of it, when people hear that, they think, I got to push them forward. What I think of it similar to is I like to dance, and I think of it, this hand, if I'm the leader, is kind of telling my partner, don't leave me. It's kind of like my reins. But it's also saying, hey, why don't you look like a graceful, moving person? This hand is kind of like my legs, and I'm not having to drive them. I'm saying, get athletic and move.
Right.
And so I'm constantly saying, like I did, there's some videos of the Colt that I have where I'm constantly saying, be athletic, but let me put the weight where I want to. We may not move a foot. I may move 1 foot. Can I pick one up? Can I move it? And then let's put that all together at speed, right? That's where it falls apart. The walk is pretty easy. When you go into the trot, it gets a little harder. When you go into the lope or the canter and the run, it gets even harder. All the softness disappears. Well, that doesn't mean it just means I'm going to break it back down. I might need to come back down to the halt and say, can you be soft? Can you move off the aid to do what I need? And it's just, I've been extremely blessed, because if I just didn't have the people that I'm blessed to be around, with what they do, I would not have been exposed to a lot of it early on. And, you know, jumping, they have to be a certain way. Dressage, they have to be a certain way. And I'm so privileged to be, I walk out my door and I've got like this, my wife went back to California because there's like the top eventing people putting on a clinic, you know, and I'm like, I get to see it every day. I see what they do. I see what they do when no one's watching. I see how their horses move. I get to go see Olympic level horses go around Kentucky and go, oh, okay, that's why that one is, you know. I get to go to horse sales and see what they're bidding on the jumping part of things. And, but I commend you for going down that path because it's a,
when you go to Kentucky and you're in the big dressage, have you heard of J.T. Burnley?
the name sounds familiar, but I
he's now like recently retired, but very world renowned.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get too deep into it just because this is very new, and I don't want to be like name dropping or making it out to be something it's not, because this is very new. But he had reached out to me yesterday saying that he feels like I have a lot of natural gifts that I'm totally oblivious to, basically. Like, you don't know how good a job you're doing because you're doing so much greenly, I guess. And had invited me to come out to Kentucky this spring, and I just didn't know if you were...
I couldn't tell you. I've heard the name, but I couldn't tell you if it would be a good idea or not. Or anything like that.
Okay.
So, but I think that... I think anybody you get around... You're far enough along in your riding that... And how you... This is the other thing. What makes you happy? Like, I could go to someone that trains in a certain way and they get the job done, but at the end of the day you feel like, golly, man, I kind of feel like a bad person, you know. That you know, so I want to be around the... Doesn't mean they're wishy-washy milk toast, but I want to be around the people that at the end of the day you go, I did right by that animal and what it needed, and maybe it needed me, the teacher, to flip over the desk and yell and scream and say, get it together for a moment, and maybe it didn't, but I feel good about, you know, where it's at. So you'll find the people that you may go to Spain and go, I like what they are trying to achieve, I just don't like the highway they're going down,
right?
And I can achieve it this way, and you know, but that's just horse training.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
that's life.
And they,
you know,
everything.
Yeah.
And like when some of these Boucher books are actually translations, and I like to read the prefaces from the translator in some of these books, just talking about how hard it is to translate horsemanship. Like, it's not about the horsemanship, it's just translating a different language. And what's his name? Craig Stevens makes a really good point of basically the horse has no language that you could write. Like, there's no language in a horse. But technically equitation is in French because that is the latest writings, not because they're better at it or anything like that. It's just the first people to ever write down what you should do was in French. So it's all translation from French. And then it'll just be a diagram in this one preface of the book I have of all the words that you have to decipher, because in French it might mean this, but in French horsemanship it means this, and then in French horsemanship from this person's mouth in this context it actually means this. So
And you're trying to read
so much muddled stuff in horsemanship just because of that. And just like when you said, like, you thought you were doing what Buck said to do, he said it in English, and you were right in front of him when you did it.
So it was still wrong. So, I do want to say, to add this in there, what the books we're talking about, you can find them on Xenophon Press. They're all translated, and I recommend anything that's on there. Nuno's books are on there. That book is on there.
Dave, we need to try to get those books, all these books, linked in the show notes. So
and anyone that wants to read on Boucher, it's almost like Old Testament and New Testament. And if you're incredibly educated or knowledgeable and can take everything with an open mind and not be welded to what the book's saying, the old or first method is interesting and intriguing, but It's kind of like Old Testament and the Bible a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the new method and the translations of the new method and his later stuff. And right now I'm reading his 5th of 5 publications, is a way more enlightened explanation of how to get what he wanted.
Yeah, and there's, again, about 10 things I thought of. So
Hey, and part of this, I mean, some of this is we're going to have to turn the thing off because we got more interviews coming. And,
What?
Yeah, but it's so unending. It's infinite. The amount of growth you can find, the amount of information you can find, the amount of fun you can have sitting in a room with real humans. So I encourage everybody, get in a room with real humans and talk to them about, find them, even if they aren't interested in the same stuff as you, just get in a room, talk to them. Stop texting every single thing you do. Stop doing everything on social media. Find a way to get in a room with other humans and enjoy their company. Because that is a lot of what the cowboy perspective is about. I make everybody travel to little old Comanche, Texas, in the middle of nowhere, from wherever they come from. Kyle's Arizona. We're going to have people from really all over the country. Brett's in California. Brownwood. Brett, I don't know where that came from. Reed.
I've been called worse.
I texted him last night, like, cool, we interviewed Brett in the morning. And he's like,
who?
Yeah, he's like, well, it's Reed, you idiot. But yeah, that sounds good. Anyways, Reed. So we're here in the flesh talking because, man, it's so enjoyable.
And I think, I know we're trying to wrap up, but I think that I know for me personally, I assume this for Kyle also, and the world, or the people that have dealt with me know they can call me and ask a question. I never turn down to talk about horses. Maybe somebody's having an issue that they haven't seen before, and I'm sure you're the same way, and I think that people would realize that we're pretty approachable, and I'm available. I'm sure Kyle's available, and phone call is pretty easy. You don't have to sign up for a lesson because I'm in the area or whatever.
Right.
Like, hey, and it may not same thing as the clinic deal. It may not be what they need to hear, but it may direct them in whatever way, or
And it helps me too, and I'm sure you, like, when I'm helping someone, it's getting me back to fundamentals, and it's reminding me of fundamentals, and it's also reminding me, like, okay, you do know what you're doing, like, you do know what you're talking about. This isn't arrogance. You're not better than nobody, but you do have a lot of knowledge, and you can share it.
Yeah.
And it's getting me back to the basics and reminding me of them too. And then in Laguerre's book, I butchered his name again, but you know who I mean. He says in bold that it's simply not enough to have ideas if you're not going to share them and pass them forward. And he talks about like a incredible French horseman who maybe could be compared to Boucher, but I don't remember his name. Neither does the rest of the world. It's mentioned in that book, but all it's mentioned was he had the world's largest bucket of talent that he bottled up inside of the walls of his barn, and no one has a clue what he thought or what he ever did. And he was just as good as anyone else, but he didn't pass it on, and his stuff dried up.
Yeah. Well, it's not about, for me, it's not about this is my way. This is, if I can help someone paint their own picture, become better than me. Like, I had a kid that came work for me for a year, and he's better than I am now at riding. I mean, there's things that I do better, but like he's good. And
that's a real good, big compliment to see somebody go be better. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want growth and greatness to stop at my level, whatever level that happens to be for me. Like, I genuinely want to see it go. It's just a requirement of life to continue to get better, more mature, more, good at growing.
And how many people have won the world and then go, I felt nothing.
Yeah.
To me, winning the world is seeing, like, I had a kid, he just won the 2 years in a row, the Run for $1 Million as an amateur. and he was in my program and left to go train under somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. So my pride, but you know what? He wouldn't have won the amateur that competition if he stayed with me.
Yeah.
So it's like,
But he wouldn't have won it if he hadn't have been with you for a little bit either. It's like,
no, I think
there's growth in all those pieces.
Oh yeah, I can definitely affirm that without even knowing the situation, because like, sure, maybe I take lessons with Manuel Trigo now, and maybe he's helping me get into the school in Spain. But I wouldn't even be able to wrap my head around any of the shit they're helping me with had I not got help from Troy Brandemule first, and then amplified that help with Travis Dickinson first. I couldn't have even done this if I didn't have that understanding first. So you were a blessing to his path and an incredible piece of the puzzle.
That's a great story. What's that guy's name?
Oh, it's Will Aiken. He's at he's on the Texas Tech rodeo team.
Oh, cool.
He's such a good rider. But no,
Guns up.
I didn't.
See,
I didn't influence him any. He probably is like, I don't want to be like that.
Well,
you know
maybe
what I mean?
so, but that's also help. Like, it is always help, even if it's just, I don't want to be like that. By the way, thank you so much, Reed.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Kyle, for co-hosting and bringing Reed to the show, because I
sir.
wouldn't have had him here otherwise. You know, it was just, sometimes there's just people that aren't on your radar. Now you're on mine. Because I'm sitting here thinking, man, I'm going to follow his social, because like you're talking about things that I'm oblivious to and I would like to learn. And whether I can do it or not, I don't know. But I'd like to not feel like an idiot when I'm sitting here between you guys talking about stuff and I don't know.
And to me, I'm just thinking like, man, I hope this is mutual for how I'm thinking this is like a lifelong friend now, because this conversation is, like you say, is endless, and I just want to ride together and shoot thoughts back and forth, or rope together, or if you want to be on my team at the Pro-Am, awesome.
Let's go beat everybody. I think it'd be neat to make a video of, let's get a bunch of Colts together and show the world that it's not a measuring contest, that most people that are in this want to just do their thing, help each other out, learn. I'm going to learn more from you than you're going to learn from me, you know.
That's so true.
And then show them what's possible with some of these horses, you know.
And like some of these maybe wild and stingy horses are not outlaws or bad.
You guys are impossible to stop.
You're trying to end.
You guys are impossible.
We got to wrap it up.
A conversation.
Okay, it's just one more point, but I'm really passionate about the fact that some of these wild horses are not that bad. No. And the things you have to do to make them not wild are not that mean. And then the end result is just as soft as everything that they're preaching about. And that's the message I'm really passionate about, I guess.
How many years have we domesticated the horse? Even the wild horses in the West are domesticated horses. I mean, we've thousands of years, and we have all these problems. No, you just either don't know what you're doing or you're afraid.
Yeah.
So let's fix both of those and get on with it.
Yep.
Y'all go check out Reed Sykes, Success, Horsemanship. If you love this show, tell somebody. If you didn't like it, tell me. Come back. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you fellas.
We've come to the end of another conversation. Oh, by the way, thanks for listening. If you're hearing this, you spent a lot of time paying attention to me and my guests and being a part of the TCB Nation. If you loved it, tell somebody. If you didn't like it, tell me. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining us on this trot around the pasture.